All right, and it looks like we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to the sixth episode of Uncovering HR with Plum. I'm Tejas, and I'm a product marketing manager here at Plum. Before we begin, let's talk a little bit about this series. So, Uncovering HR is our fortnightly LinkedIn Live series, wherein we talk to India's best and brightest HR leaders on their playbooks to success. And today we have with us here Aashish Punjabi. Ashish is Juno's chief of staff. He's worked with a stellar set of companies like Uber. He's even started his own venture. He's worked at several startups. And now he is working in probably what's one of the hottest spaces out there, Web3. There's so many opinions about what Web3 is. So welcome, Ashish, and why don't you go ahead and just quickly introduce yourself in your own words, and then we get started.
Thanks, Tejas, for such a kind introduction. I don't think I deserve too much of this, but thanks once again. Just to put it out right there, I basically started with a very, chill ass job at Uber and then probably start something of my own. It worked out well, sold it off, worked in a startup with someone who was just building in HR tech, learned recruiting. Once I learned recruiting, I was like, dude, this is something I wanted to probably do it for the next few years of my life. Uh, Landed up here, surprisingly, it worked out really well. And yeah, that has been a journey in a nutshell. Open to, discuss a lot more in the conversation going forward.
Awesome. That's such a great place to get started at, because you've been a people success leader at various stages in various industries, but here we are with Web3. There's so many opinions, there's so many misconceptions, there's so much that's going on around it. So how is it working in Web3? Is it any easier, any harder, any different?
So if you ask me what's the primary difference between Web 2 and Web 3, I'll be very honest. It's a lot more around the context, right? But and I'll tell you why, right? When you talk about Web 2, fundamentals of Web 2 are always going to be very similar in terms of industries, right? Something that worked at Swiggy will or may not work at Paytm, right? But there's going to be some context around the personas, around the users, around people, and it is the same with the hiring as well, right? And when we talk about Web3 in general, in tech hires, you may be able to draw a distinction, right? Where you know that you can hire people from Web2. But when it comes to non-tech hiring is where a lot of challenges come in place, right? Open to probably hear from you again if you want to probably go deeper in that particular thing.
Sure. We do have the time to actually double click a little bit on especially the
Great.
differences between tech and non-tech hiring, even, right?
Great. So when we talk about hiring Web3 tech, I think basic fundamental again is backend, front end, DevOps, Android dev, iOS devs, QA, etc., like any other Web2 company, right? So you basically build on those people and basically you can train them to be a little more crypto native. And doing that is way more easier with tech folks because they are not really interacting with the audience a lot. And till the time they start interacting, they have a lot of context. So they have time to ramp up their learnings. But when we talk about the same in Web3 growth roles or say basically product management role, it's where it gets a lot trickier. And I'll tell you why. There are very limited amount of companies that have built on Web3 on a product level. So far, everyone has been, running around exchanges, which is one set of Web3. And then there are
Mm-hmm.
protocols and there are DAOs in place that are coming in picture. So there's so much more happening in such less amount of time. No one has a depth of Web3, like very limited amount of cohort. So out of 100 people that you speak to, 70 people will have very limited amount of context of Web3. 30 people that have context are very critical to find and basically in general uh, critical to convince to probably join, right? That's when you can probably differentiate. A difficulty level is a way more higher compared to tech hirings in web 3, and that has been
Mm-hmm.
my learning in the last 1.5 2 years that I've been here at June. And
Awesome.
we figured out few hacks around as well. I won't say we
Mhm.
don't hire from Web2, right? I think the best way to probably figure out this is, the kind of role that we are hiring. Does it require an individual to be like a crypto native from day one? Or we can give some weeks or days or months to this individual to probably, sail through with us, learn from us, learn with us, being an odd people and just, grasp as much as possible and then probably ready to run. And then there are few roles that are, like we need from day one. Like it's non-negotiable, right? And that's exactly, we basically divide the roles as well when we are looking for folks, in any role, in any function, at any level at this point in time.
Got it, got it. That's great. And also thank you for, sort of deviating a little bit from the script and going into that deep dive. Also, a quick note for the audience that's tuning in. We will be taking questions towards the end of the sessions. So do keep dropping them in the comments section. But now moving on to sort of, what's the crux of where we're at today, right? Web3 is in its nascent stages in India and probably the world even. But specific to India, right? We're in this bear market, and the government and regulations haven't exactly played ball with Web3 so far. So, to put it that way, Web3 might seem like a bit of a risky bet at this point. So, how do you compete with other industries that aren't seen as risky bets?
So I, it's basically very, day-to-day question that people ask me, right? Why
Mm-hmm,
should we join you guys? Because again, we are not the most funding heavy company in Web3 as
mm-hmm,
well. I think there are so many companies have so much more money than we do at this point in time, right? And then second thing that comes in mind is this industry is evolving so fast, and then the regulations in India are so very complicated. How do you guys tackle that? And in general, right? Even like just FYI, right? We are building in for the US, and the
mm-hmm,
context required for the US is very different, and the kind of industry US is way more regulated. But still, 90% of the folks that I've ever spoken to for the first time, they have always asked me this question: that what if some regulation changes in India says that people who are building for crypto can't build from India, they have to move out. What do we do then, right? And that's when a lot of sentiments around this entire Web3 is risky, Web3 is not for India, etc., comes in picture. This is one side of thing that people have a thought process around. There's a second side as well. Second side is where people are very very optimistic, want to probably get into it, want to do more in Web3, basically do not want to consider anything apart from Web3. And again, these are two different cohorts, very differently dealt with. And unfortunately, not all the people that we talk to are the second ones. A lot of people that we land up speaking to are always in the first cohort. And again, our answer is always around product, right? It always comes down to product. If you're building for Web3 and it is a powerful product, you will
mm-hmm,
flourish, right? And that's exactly the kind of communication and the kind of language the tone of the conversation has always been around how good our product is, right? We've never sold a dream of a lottery ticket that you join us, like it's in any other Web3, that you buy this coin and then you'll be like 100x buy Dodge, etc. Not happening like that, right? It's a very product driven organization with a very Web3 heavy product again.
mm-hmm,
And that's what helps us stand out, right? When we talk about what is Juno building, Juno basically is something that you can use on day-to-day basis. It's basically like Jupiter and CoinSwitch together at one place. And sometimes this proposition is just easier to understand and probably just dive in. So we've been able to, like, there's no direct answer of how we are able to solve it, right? But
mm-hmm.
for few cases, right, who want to probably work with us and want to have a closer look on how things look around, what we've enabled is we've enabled giving them a consulting role for the first 1 or 2 months,
Okay.
right? And if they feel comfortable for the first 1 month, they'll probably share that we are having a good time. I think we would like to go ahead and get a full time role, and that's basically how we've onboarded a couple of folks at Juno. Because in 1 month, although their consulting period was 2 months, in first
Mm-hmm.
month itself, they are very much aware if they want to work here or not. And the decision that they make is usually within the 45 days itself. Like maximum amount of people, they basically come in 30 days itself. Yeah, let's go all in. Want to probably come in full time. And that's one way of solving for it, by trusting the person, that this person is exclusively consulting with us for these 2 months, and then probably taking a leap of faith with us, and we do the same thing. So in a nutshell, it's a very trust driven game, like any other company, but it's just a very new industry. So we enable this with a lot more ease for an individual who has certain doubts, and is someone who wants to get into Web3 but is still afraid of getting into it.
Got it, got it. So very, very, very interesting points there. I think one, A, thank you for your elevator pitch of how what Juno is. I think that would have demystified it a fair bit for our listeners as well, for those who needed that little bit of help. I think second thing, two clear call outs that stood out. One was very, very interesting with the consultative approach that you take in order to onboard a new hire and try to sort of, convince them, see it for themselves, the proof of the pudding, and then essentially getting onboarded full time. And the third thing was trust. Trust by default is a value that I think a lot of startups that I've been at are essentially built on, I think. But in your case, sort of, being absolutely nascent, trust by default just becomes a very a lot stronger pillar, I would say, in fact. So sort of, continuing this discussion from here, I know you spoke about how it's risky and the kind of things that you've done to make those individuals a little less risk averse and bring them on board. And seemingly it has worked for you as well. But I'm sure there are differences when you're targeting employees here based on the age segments that they belong to, right? And especially you would probably see that when it comes to a little more senior roles. So do you even target the segment if and when you're hiring? If not, why? And if yes, how would you go about doing it?
Absolutely, right. I'll be honest, I have a very real time example on this, right?
Hmm.
I think one thing is, it's age thing is not just for Web3, right? I think this is like a thing for Web2 as well. I think for instance, I don't personally think I would be as relevant as I am today when I would be 45, right? I think
Hmm.
this number, I think it might be exaggerated, I might be 40 or might be 50 as well, but I know for sure, right, that there would be less relevancy around execution, a lot more around, strategy, and basically helping people out with solutions that they don't even know exists, right? But coming back to our question, which was, the kind of people we are targeting and how we are targeting, and in general, the consensus around hiring for an experienced person, or basically sticking to younger ones who know the industry at this point in time. So to be honest, we had a consultant who was, again, uh, very very rich with experience, 15 years of experience in Web2 startups, uh, like scaled large payment companies in India itself, in the top three. Has amazing exposure to how B2C in general works, right?
Hmm.
And this was a marketing growth kind of a role. And now the point here is, we were able to probably get him on consulting, and there was a reason we couldn't go ahead with full time. I'll probably share it in future as well. But to onboard this person was curious about crypto. This person
Hmm.
had no understanding of how product works and stuff. Very limited amount of understanding on industry as well. But he was very curious, so he kept on reading, right? And that's when we thought, let's get him on board and we'll figure out. You won't believe, within the first 24 hours of this guy being onboarded, he bought his own ENS, right? ENS is basically like Aashish Punjabi .eth and stuff, right? But the
Hmm.
whole point here is, it's where he took the baby steps of at least creating his own identity on chain, and then eventually started figuring out how do we basically interact with contracts, and then basically buying NFTs, selling NFTs, etc., etc. And then in the first 1 week itself, he knew what crypto is, right? 15 days in the consulting role, he could probably just bridge that gap that we were missing when we were building a fintech crypto product, right? We thought we should probably be running like a crypto growth product, but we realized it's basically, we need the, what do we say, fundamental of Web2 in Web3 to basically make it work for regular audience, and that's when his experience came in picture. So to probably think of it in a perspective where experience of Web 2 with Web 3 again is something we realized has helped us a lot, and that's exactly how we run right now. I think the kind of person we hire as our head of growth in the US as well is from a Web 2 company, SaaS plus B2C, and super crypto native in general.
Mhm, mhm,
And that's the kind of persona we just realized, right? This is the kind of person who works really well for us. Again, the roles available for slightly experienced folks is very limited at this point in time, because there are very limited amount of products that are being built in Web3. But again, if you ask me, the risk appetite these people have, it's very low. They are in late 40s or mid 40s. They have certain EMIs to pay, and they have certain things that they have commitment of, right? So it's not just a Web3 thing. I just feel it's a very Web2 thing as well. You cannot ask someone from, say, phone pay to probably join some random pay again, uh, at Series A stage, right? Because they might have machaufied themselves in phone pay, but very high likely chances that they may not be ready for a journey at say random pay. So
mhm.
so that has been my learning, right? We've spoken to a couple of folks, and they've openly shared when to reach out to them. Like they always say, like, we are at Series A stage, so you can always reach out to me when you guys are at Series C or Series D stage and has a little more cushion around product market fit and etc. etc. They gave their 2 3 feedbacks on them, and then we basically reach out to them, and that's how that has happened with us in seed stage, by the way. So we landed up hiring someone in Series A stage who recommended us to reach out to him in seed stage. Like when we talked to that person in seed.
Got it. So I think just to sum up what you're trying to say is that especially when you're looking for talent at the senior level, the risk appetite essentially would remain the same depending on what stage of company you are at, rather than which industry you are in. And a risk
Absolutely
averse person will essentially always be risk averse to you being a Series A company, irrespective of
correct.
whether you're in crypto or whether you're in Web 2 or any other space for that matter.
There is slight discomfort, of
Sure.
course. Like that is
Mhm.
there for, I think, someone who's at 21 years old starting up his career or her career, has the same level of discomfort. Should I be getting into Web3? Like the same thing that we discussed in the previous
Got
conversation,
it.
that it's a very thing that has been driven by regulations around in the country. But when we really look at it in a perspective that this product is for the US, I can sleep well in the night, regardless of how things turn out in India. Of course, India has a bright future. I think it's going to take some time. Again, it's something I feel eventually will come in picture. Not real anytime soon, but I think it's not my place to probably comment on that.
Got it. Absolutely. But now that we've spoken about hiring and employees and being risk averse and all of that, it's probably a great time to talk about employee benefits. Now, this is something that we at Plum have always been talking about and helping companies with as well. But in all of the LinkedIn lives that we've done in the past, we've again spoken to folks who've come in mostly from the Web 2 world. Now, you're the first person who's come in from the Web 3 world. You've done NFT giveaways in the past. From what I know, your referral bonuses come in the form of Ethereum. So, one of the things that we at Plum like to sort of own is this culture of care. So, how do you, in the metaverse or in Web3, essentially see that culture of care evolving? I'm sure this is something our audience is really looking forward to.
I think it has been like a learning curve for us as well, but even we are learning here, right? I'll be honest, right? I think when people talk about a culture of care, right? I definitely think of one thing, which is be human. Like, just be as human as possible with the folks that are working with you. Ensure that while they are working, they are happy, they are having a good time. And what else can you probably do apart from what general stuff that every other company is doing, right? I think Plum has helped at least one thing, which is insurance, and not to worry about these small nitty gritties, which matter a lot for the folks, right? And I'm glad that we've been in touch with since day one. But yeah, I mean, talking about what you mentioned, right? What difference do we have in terms of, uh, culture in terms of care? I think it starts with, ensuring that anyone and everyone who's working at Juno uh, is having a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. Build and have a good time. That has been the primary thing. And I'll be honest, right? I'm pretty sure at any point of time, I we try as an organization to be at 100% happiness level or sorts, but it is very difficult to crack that. And again, it's like a work in progress. You'll always probably keep iterating, keep getting better at what you folks do, and then again, just get better at the game. NFT giveaways and referral bonuses were just a part of place where we were just seeing people wanted to probably get into Web3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, initially there was a lot of resistance from us as well because we were like it's expensive as F, right? I mean, you want to get into crypto, DeFi, Web3, whatever, right? But again, it's very expensive to even like as an Indian, we are like wired to do INR to dollar conversion, and 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 that's where you will not spend your $100 on gas. And when December 2020 one October वो पूरा जो phase था that phase was very high in gas. So if you basically interact with Ethereum, you basically end up paying 40, 50, $100 worth of gas fee, which is like a transaction fees, right? So no one wanted to probably even try it, including me. I'll be honest. And that's when we realized let's probably start figuring out methods where people not only feel rewarded but also feel there's a culture of learning as well at the same time. And that's when we probably just started raffling. We just sent out in our general channel that whoever is interested can probably just get their ENSs and then just apply. So ENS, we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to we wanted to ensure that there is something learning happening on their side as well. And that's when we
Mm-hmm.
realized 50% of the team applied for the raffle, and luckily 10 to 12 people end up getting it. And then that just started the thing that we realized that people really like these NFT drops. And that's when we started like figuring out partnerships or these are NFTs that we could probably give away. And that's how we were able to probably give it to 60-70% of the team uh, at the like February March tak ke zone mein. And after that we just stopped doing that because we realized it's not like working out on financial basis, because जो NFT हम दे रहे थे somewhere at say 1.5 ETH and somewhere at say 0.1 ETH. So we wanted to probably just get it in control. But it was a great experiment with us. I think people still hold it. I still hold it. Again, that was one thing. Then the each referral bonus actually came in existence after this. So whenever people refer someone, we'll end up going ahead and basically once they complete a 3 month thing, instead of giving them a cash bonus, we let them choose if they want to probably get into ETH. And
Okay.
that's how we started referral bonuses in that. It has worked out really well for us for few of the hires.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not everyone opts in for ETH. I'll be honest. Some people are still like, give me cash. I'm more happy with cash. But I think that's fine. I guess, right? I mean, uh, you can't force crypto on anyone.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, A, for your kind words, and B, also for your refreshing and raw honesty. I think that's sort of really set the tone for some of the audience questions that we will be taking. So the first question that we have here from the audience is, what channels do you look for hiring talent aside from social media?
So if you ask me, right, I think social media ke alawa, there are so many meetups happening.
Mm-hmm.
Every meetup, I'm pretty sure 90% of the people will be relevant because nahi hota hai. Like, I've been to a couple of them and I just have always end up being disappointed. But sometimes you meet like really good people.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are like super connectors. And when I say super connectors, what I mean here is they have a good network with the folks in crypto Web3, right?
Okay.
So it's like if you know someone who knows someone, and then this entire thing has a ripple effect, right? So we've spoken to so many people in the last 1 year who we couldn't hire because again of compensation regions, and again we being a seed company or a series A company will always have a limitation, right? And we've spoken to so many people because of the same thing, right? And again, the best way to probably figure out is if you find someone on LinkedIn, example, right?
Hmm.
How do you, if the person is not interested, is again the basic thing. Uh, People may not be interested in the new role always, right? But there's always a thing, if you even care to ask if there's someone else looking out in their network. And this basic thing has helped us connect with four people in that particular chain. So once, I'll tell you one example. We were hiring for someone. This person said, I'm not looking out, I'm open to refer, baat kar lo. Spoke to those two people that he referred. Those two people, one of them connected with me, four people in the pipeline. So you just realize it's like a exercise that keeps on going if you
Absolutely.
can just dig deeper, right? So, and it's basically the same for Web3 as well, right? When you reach out to people at say some random meetup, there's always going to be that individual who will help you out with more and more connections. You can tap into them, and eventually, I think if you are able to crack that, you will be able to source without even social media after an extent.
Got it. So meetups and the ripple effect essentially from there to get to the best people that you want.
Absolutely,
This
absolutely.
is
But
this is absolute. Yeah.
this is like one, like out of 10 this might work with one individual. I'll be honest, the probability of success is very low, because again, no offense there, but most of the people in these Web3 meetups come to learn, and the kind
Mhm.
of people we look for are someone who are a little more native already in crypto. So it's not like they are not like crypto centric or sorts, but they don't fit the criteria of being super crypto native or the kind of individual we look for. But sometimes we'll end up really finding good gems there.
Got it. This is probably a great time to also, bring in the second question because you spoke about people who probably aren't necessarily, super crypto native or people who aren't necessarily the best fit of what you are looking for. So I'm sure there's also talent that's already present in existing larger Web3 companies, even though, so how do you attract talent from these companies?
Well, honestly, it's a very sad space to be in, dude, if you do not have a lot of money, right? I think someone from random base just hired someone with 3x of salary that we were offering. And
Hmm.
that's the advantage any large Web3 company will always have, in front of bigger, in terms of, smaller companies that basically compete, right? There's always one thing, if you are able to find someone as like entrepreneurial enough to probably, you know, get on equity, like good amount of equity and stuff. But
Hmm.
again, it's basically an entrepreneurial drive in an individual. The truth of the matter is you cannot compete with bigger organization because they have a lot of cash to dispose of, right? And that's one true that truth that like you've just engraved, right? I think again we've been lucky to hire someone from these big organizations as well.
Hmm.
But again, it's not always a sunny day for the folks in Web3, because there's always someone who's gonna pay like 3x, 4x of more, and that has happened with us like very recently in a very leadership role that we closed with a lot of effort. But then there is always like a base, like random base. I won't take full name. Came in with like a 4x offer, which of course was amazing with a lot of benefits and stuff. So I think it's like if someone offers me like $2 million a year, I would fucking go away, man. Of course, I'll work for a year and then take a break, right? So anyone would do it.
Absolutely,
I don't
but
think anyone would be wrong with doing that.
no, no doubt about that. I mean, but what you've said also makes a lot of sense. But we hope that there will be, sunny days for Web3 and sunny days for Web3 in India, and also, sunny days for you folks at Juno. Although you do have your fair share of them. Uh, thank you so much, Ashish, for being here, for talking to us. About hiring in a Web3 world. Thank you so much for taking audience questions. And if you have any closing notes, I'll probably hand it over to you, or we can go ahead and wrap.
Yep. Thank you so much, Tejas and Team Plum, for having me here. Apologies if I've landed up offending someone. The intention was not to get in trouble, but I'm still sorry if anyone is hurt by anything that I said. We are hiring in a couple of roles. Just shameless plug in here. We are hiring in a couple of roles. Feel free to probably apply or directly reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you once again, and yeah, have a great day ahead.
Thanks, Ashish. And for those of you who joined us, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having you in our next event on the Uncovering HR series as well. Um, and have a good day. See you around.